Hello, hello. I am Matt Williamson. How are you? I bet you're well. Steelers 3-0. Watched the Bengals drop to 0-3 on Monday Night Football. And that brings me to the first topic of the day is the division. Steelers now have a commanding lead at 3-0 with the Ravens 1-2, the Browns 1-2, and now the Bengals 0-3. And the chances of making the playoffs at 0-3 over history is very, very low. And the chances of going to the playoffs at 3-0 is very, very high, needless to say. And I'll come up with those numbers for you later in the week, but it's remarkable. The Steelers are of a plus 5 point differential or plus 25 point differential, which, believe it or not, is fifth best in the league. Everyone else in the division, Ravens are -7, Browns are -17, Bengals are -12. And that's a brutal loss. I look at the Ravens now and say, good, they dedicated themselves to the run game. That's a start. The O-line's starting to get a little bit better, but there's something wrong with Mark Andrews. Their weaponry overall is a little lackluster. The defense to me is good, but not where it was last year. So I don't think they're in bad shape. I mean, 1-2 isn't great. Their upcoming schedule is brutal, but I wouldn't be too concerned about the Ravens in terms of playoffs from their perspective, not the Steelers' perspective. I'd still be worried about them from a Steelers' perspective. I think the Browns are a disaster. I think their offense might be bottom 3. I mean, it's gotten to that point where they got some O-linemen back and they all played terrible, and then they lost some O-linemen, and Watson certainly doesn't make up for anything. He is an anchor to this offense and organization, and I know people think running backs don't matter, but they'd be in so much better shape with a healthy Nick Chubb or something along those lines too. And the defense is good, but it's not ridiculous. It hasn't carried over from last year. Steelers defense is clearly the best in the division, if not the whole league, and certainly the conference. So I think the Browns are officially buried. Like, I'm not ready quite to bury the Bengals, but I think their defense is a real issue. I mean, they don't stop the run well at all. Everyone wanted to blame the safety situation last year. Well, they got that fixed, but the defense isn't any better. I think the offense is playoff caliber, but I also don't know that we've seen the best of Burrow yet. I mean, he seems a little off with his accuracy and his touch and timing, which are obviously his best attributes. At 0-3, I'm not ready to quite bury the Bengals, but I don't feel good about their chances at all. And the thing that I think they have going for them that I find really interesting in the AFC is, we mentioned the Browns, but I would put the Dolphins as well as the Jags, who are now 0-3 after their Monday night debacle. They just got throttled by the Bills. Those three teams, Miami, Cleveland, Jacksonville, were all teams I considered playoff potentially worthy, you know? And now, if you're not, there's only 7 teams. There's 7 teams going in the AFC. Those are 3 of 16 that we could potentially eliminate. I don't see New England, Tennessee, Denver, or LA or Vegas going. I don't feel good about the Colts. I don't feel great about the Chargers. You get to 7 pretty quick, you know what I'm saying? You know, like Buffalo, Jets, that's 2. Steelers, Ravens, that's 3. Bengals is a long shot, but that's 4. Houston is 5. Kansas City is 6. See what I'm saying? You know, like, it would be rather shocking if the Steelers didn't make the playoffs at this point. And if you're the Bengals, you could look at things and be like, man, we're swimming upstream. We probably need to win 10 of our next 13, which in itself sounds pretty brutal. They haven't even played division games yet. But maybe they're not quite dead. But the AFC looks much, much more palatable than I would have thought. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the NFL to college, BetOnline is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head over to the online casino and get on the game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and use our promo code BLEAV, capital BLEAV, all caps, and get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Couple nuggets, and then I want to introduce you to the Colts. It's about that time of the week. Please check out my Twitter timeline. I retweeted something that Brandon Thorne, who I've referenced before, he is the best media offensive line expert out there. That's all he does is concentrate on O-line, D-line, mostly O-line. But he put together a package of Zach Frazier, who he is standing on the table as the best rookie offensive lineman in the league. Go check out my Twitter timeline and find that video. It's pretty crazy. I'll be honest, I tried to cut and paste it and put it in with the notes here, but for some reason they don't let you cut videos off Twitter anymore, or I don't know how to do it, or something along those lines. I said I'd mentioned this before. I don't know how it'll go. I'm sure we'll get news probably even by the time you listen to this, but I think you have to start Justin Fields this week. I mean, he took such strides in this game where you didn't win in spite of him. He helped you win because of him, from his play in the pocket and his avoidance of mistakes, but also his accuracy and his development. And you're 3-0, and I don't know the status of Wilson's calf. I have a feeling he could play if it got down to that point. But I think you have to roll with Fields. And I didn't feel that way. I mean, I think I told you guys 1 week ago that I can't imagine a scenario where I would say you have to stick with Fields when Wilson's ready. But that's where I'm at right now. All right, let's go back to some general things about this battle coming up here on Sunday. Steelers have won 6 straight regular season games, folks. Going back to last year. Not easy doing this league. This is the 4th 3-0 start for the Steelers under Mike Tomlin, and Pittsburgh has made the playoffs each time previously. That's 2007, 2010, 2020. Since 1990, teams that start 3-0 make the playoffs 75% of the time, and they win their division 51% of their time. 4-0, it's almost a lock if you win this week. Steelers are the first team in 20 years and only the 8th since 1970 to allow 300 or fewer yards and 10 or fewer points in each of their first 3 games. It's pretty crazy. Pittsburgh has outscored their opponents by 5 points, as I told you. Only 4 teams are better. The Colts have been outscored by 3. Last week in the second half, these are things that I've told you before, but I still think they're generally good knowledge. Steelers outproduced the Colts 234 yards to -5. I mean, I know you know that, but that deserves to be brought up again. Pittsburgh's 11-3 in their last 14 road games. They've won their past 14 road games when leading going into the fourth quarter. That's the longest streak in the NFL. Some turnover stuff, which they bucked this trend. Since 2022, the Steelers are 19-4 in which they did not throw an interception, and are 3-13 with at least 1 interception thrown, but that was 2-11 before last week. 8-1 in games they forced multiple turnovers, and 1-3 when forcing 0 turnovers. That was 0-3. Over the past 3 seasons, and now including 3 games in 2024, the Steelers are 30-7 when they won or tied the turnover battle. They're now 1-15-1 when they lost that turnover battle over that stretch, with that 1 win coming last week. Going back to the 2020 season, they're 22-3 when they don't turn the ball over. So their turnover margin is now +4. It's only behind the Packers and Bills. Meanwhile, the Colts are -2, which is only better than 4 teams. Only the Titans have given the ball away more than Indianapolis, while the Steelers have just 1 giveaway all season. The Colts have thrown the league's most interception, while the Pittsburgh Steelers have thrown just one. Last two little notes here. Indianapolis possessed the football for just under 25 minutes last week, 24-59. The Steelers held the ball for 33-51 against Los Angeles. For the season, only the Niners have a better time of possession than the Steelers. On average, they're at 33 minutes and 55 seconds. Meanwhile, not only is Indianapolis dead last in time of possession, 21-36. Think about that. The second worst, to put that in perspective, is Atlanta at 24-36, which is terrible, but it's 3 minutes more than the last place Colts. Really bad. I mean, it's a problem to say the least. And this is the first 3-game winning streak of Justin Fields' career as a starting quarterback. Just a little nugget there. Not had a whole lot of win-loss success in the past, but boy, is he playing a different brand and a smarter brand in a Steeler uniform than a Bears uniform, which goes back to why I would keep putting him out there. All right, everyone, take care. Talk soon.